Hello, welcome to Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 10, Video 12, The Art of the Student. This will be the last video in this series from The Art of the Student, but for me, this particular series of this Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection has been very, very interesting. And I think more will come out of it. It's amazing, isn't it? What a title or content of a subject matter or the angle in which you take to approach any subject matter sometimes can be that right spot, the sweet spot in which other things can emerge. And for me, well, I felt it on other video series as well, but this was a little different. So, since most of you are back in school, I imagine by now, for sure you're back in school if you're in school, and if you're a teacher, well, you're in school too. So, what to say then? Since summer technically will be over in a few days, I've decided to make this the last video. Short-term, mid-term, long-term goals are very important for anybody. And of course, this would include the student. Very, very, very important. To have the big overriding goal. Oh, I want to be a great chamber music player. I want to be in an orchestra. I want to do it all. I want to do certain kinds of jazz. I want to do both. I want to be a crossover player. Whatever it may be, having things that you can tangibly touch that are close by or just a little ahead that you can build up to, of course, create stepping stones for other levels to appear. So each week, each day can be the building of different goals, right? So what's a good short-term goal? Pick a piece for yourself. Here's the obvious one. There's an exercise, and you'd like to get a certain amount of it done at a certain tempo, right? By the end of the week. Then you increase it the next week. You don't have to use a week, okay? You can have, here's my goal in 3 days. Sometimes shortening things at the right time can put us at a certain kind of healthy intensity. So we put a little bit of pressure on ourselves in the right way, and we can get excellent results. The wrong kind of pressure will get the reverse. And part of the arts of the student, the essence of the art of the student, is know thyself. And this is a discovery process. But setting these limits, okay, in a week I need to do this. In 3 days I need to do that. In 6 months I want to be able to do this. So you can have weekly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. A daily goal might be, I need to cover this etude, that excerpt, that solo, and some specific embouchure work today. And it reminds me, by having goals like that, you can also start to form a practice schedule or routine which really I call a practice diet. I just saw you yawn. This isn't boring, is it? So, these are important. I call them arts because they can be done with good skill and good perception over time. And these are ways to get to know yourself more. While you wake up and your lip feels incredibly stiff, you might want to look at some of the reasons why that could be. For example, because that day you had all these things you want to do and you pick it up and go, one of those days, not much is going to happen. Well, you have to be adaptable to the circumstance. Maybe you're going to need longer in your warm-up maintenance routine. Okay? Maybe you're just going to have to play, take a little break, play, take a little break, play, take a little break. Do some breathing things. Have your mind engaged in what you need to be doing and what you want to be doing. Paying attention to what's actually happening. Are your thoughts drifting? If your thoughts are drifting, just gently bring them back. Just gently bring them back. And then see how things develop. It might be a day that says, well, I'll be playing in the mid-range today. Legato, some staccato, and doing lots of different kinds of slurs. Maybe that's what's needed. And that's going to probably get you more into a balanced situation. If you know your first overlay well enough about what your ear support or your embouchure, for example, need. So a student needs to know what they need eventually. And this takes the playing into a more you're in command rather than just, woo, whatever. It's just the luck of the draw. It's a good day and the next day's bad. And it doesn't have to quite be that way. Sometimes we take on too much too soon, knowing darn well before we do it, this isn't going to be great. So listen to your first overlay. Listen if it's saying, you know what, something feels not just stiff, but slightly pulled. Do what needs to be done to get it balanced, working flexibly again without any kinds of pains. And there are exercises that can be done for that. Many different kinds of exercises. And a lot of it is the play, rest, play, rest, play, rest. And so then maybe your schedule's a little thrown off. It's all right. You're getting more done this way. And this is where a certain kind of discipline comes in. Discipline is not only doing what needs to be done. Well, actually, no, that would cover it. A great mentor of mine said, discipline is doing what needs to be done at the time it needs to be done, whether you like doing it or not. So it applies in either way. You don't feel like doing anything, but you're going to do it. Like meaning a certain amount of work. But then there's the discipline knowing when enough's enough and to stop, whether you want to keep going or not. If your first overlay is saying, hey, dude, hey, I can't do anymore, then stop. Maybe your lip feels okay, but your mind's going, and drifting and just up and down, or maybe your emotions even feel like that. So this leads to a very interesting thing about planning. It's good to have a plan. It's excellent. But there are some days where just equivalent to an airplane taking off, right? You have a flight, you're going to meet all these people, and all of a sudden you're on the tarmac for 3 hours as they're trying to figure out what's going on with the airplane. And then you might miss your connecting flight. So things had to change. And your playing can be similar. Now some days, I remember when I hurt myself years and years ago, gosh, over 40 years ago now. Oh yeah, definitely over 40 years ago. And I was like, had no face. And I was building it back up, but it would still go up and down because I way overplayed and yanked a whole thing here and here. And it took several years for it to really start to come back. And didn't make any difference. Bolero was on. Now, I could have called them and said I'm not playing it, but I didn't. And I woke up and I was like, okay, this is great. I have a range of a fifth from low B flat to middle F. Now, I wasn't a student at this time. I mean, I was as old as students getting their master's degrees, but I was already in the BSO. And I just got up early and went, okay, I'm going to have to do stuff. I knew my first overlay well enough. I'd have to do stuff all day long to get to the point where I could find a setting and then find a style, mostly in terms of the articulation and dynamics, in which I could actually play the bolero. And I couldn't tongue up there. Once I even could get up there, I had to find a position where I could, because nothing was totally set yet. So I had to do it. Okay, got it. Couldn't really tongue up there, so I had to do the whole thing legato, slurred and legato. And at a mezzo-ish dynamic, kind of a real dynamic. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it up there. I had people coming up, lucky I played that concert, and played it, and people came up and, wow, that was great. That's the best you've ever done it. Well, I like it, mostly string players and woodwind players, right? Coming up, there was less volume, the lyric, I guess, and it was more legato, and it had a certain kind of freeness to it, even though if they knew how much I was struggling, but it didn't make any difference. Now I realize that could have been really difficult if it was right in the beginning of when that injury happened. I might not have been able to do that then. I might not have been able to work it up and then find some kind of setting to be able to even hit those notes at all. So, but I discovered a lot from that. Now I play bolero more like that, ever since that time, because it was just something in it that had a more Dorsey-ish quality that I think really fits that trombone solo. So I couldn't do my planned thing. And you might wake up and go, you might not have to play bolero that night or Mahler third or anything like that, but you might have to go, wow, what am I going to do? I have a range of a third, and how can I make it better? One of the great, maybe this is the first law of the student beyond immediate application. Maybe this is one of the core things to learn and discover in the art of the student. Start with what you can do and gradually extend. All aspects of playing can start from that premise, at least at the first overlay level and beyond that. Can't tongue fast? Start with what you can do. Gradually, and that gradually can be slower than any snail you've ever seen. And extend. And what is this going to grow in you? Patience. If you start feeling a lot of tension and frustration, go to a quiet place where no one can hear you and yell or whatever you need to do, right? Do some other things. Go to a movie, walk around the park, get inside of the music you really, really love. Always have your love of music close by. Don't have difficulties with your playing take you away from your love, but always connect to that love every single day. Before you play, your pre-warm-up physically should be your warm-up into what your purpose, or closer to your third overlay, would be for wanting to play. And feel those times you've been so inspired. Feel, connect to the joys of certain pieces. And then realize, okay, now I can't pick up my horn and immediately do it, if that's the state you're in, being either injured or unwarmed up. But you know that's where you're going. This is your longer term goal. And you do things in your short term, mid-term goals that create the ladder to what your purpose really is, so it can become more of a living reality for you. So that's an important bit of this whole thing. Now, for some of you and the teachers who are students as well, of course, back in school, going to have a lot thrown your way. Maybe a lot of you went to summer festivals. People seem like they can't exist without a summer festival. It's interesting. That's okay. Know thyself is important. But I would also say it's important that you don't depend on certain things, like a summer festival, to practice. Create your own summer festival. Get together with anybody. Get together with friends. Get together, call people. Make some connections. Plan out a little concert. Initiative is a very important quality for the student. The word ambition has... I tend not to use that word. Taking initiative in a healthy way, I think, is vital as well. And it's going to start with you setting up your own practice schedule. You might find there's an excerpt solo day. You might find there's an etude solo day. You might find there's just times you're working on, your volume contrast. Write down in a log how many different things, categories, on the first overlay, on the second overlay, and what you understand about the third overlay, which is at least your purpose, okay, for doing what you do. And all of this overlay system has extensions in ways that maybe have been touched upon, but not gone into great depth. I think there was a couple videos before this one that really did get into certain aspects of the overlay system that hadn't probably been touched on in that way on video. There's getting to be a lot of videos now, so sometimes I can't totally remember each one. Discovery, initiative, your deep passion to want this as a part of your life. Know that you're more in command than you think. And just because I had this one student, very gifted student, come to me, let's see, I don't know, it was about 12 years ago. And I was talking to them and they were saying, well, I'm just a freshman. And I said, what are you talking about? You don't have to classify yourself as a freshman and then, kind of fall into what freshmen are, if that's not you. Well, what kind of idea? I never thought of myself, I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I'm a this. People would get impressed. The fact that I was, a freshman and getting in the finals for major symphonies, okay, that's impressive. And I'm sure someone said, oh, well, yeah, I would have been a freshman if I would have been in school. That's kind of a fun, egotistical thing to say. But the truth is that I didn't identify with being a freshman. Whatever that is. At the same time, I always wanted to improve more. And that didn't make any difference whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. There's some senior students that come to me, and I can see all of a sudden there's a new kind of intensity in them because they're seniors now. Ooh, I have to take grad school auditions. And then the grad student's getting, okay, what am I going to do for money? I need to get better. So different stages of life, and I think that's healthy to wake you up. I think the most important fear one can have, and I stated before, is the fear of wasting time. And a great mentor of mine said, for this little affirmation you can do say to yourself is, grant me the fear that keeps me succeeding. It's a healthy fear. It keeps you in check because time goes very quickly. Make the most of your time. And that is a vital art of the student throughout their entire lives. Make the most of what you have, of what you've been given, all the lessons you've been given. Make the most of them. And other things in life, we're just talking about your music career right now, but obviously it applies beyond that. And yours will not be kind of the cry of the lost because you didn't do what you wanted to do because of wasting time. But don't forget to smell the flowers.